What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode, the final episode of The Time Is Now. Today's episode is going to be all about the journey, the moment until this moment, the moments and all the things that I've put, all the reps that I've put in place with that one more rep mentality to get to where I am today. And this is no means where I want to be. This is no means impressive to some people, but for me, this is a big deal. And for a lot of people that have followed the journey, you guys know exactly what that is. So this is the story, nearly a decade old, of how I went from gym enthusiast / rugby player / love sport into an IFBB pro bodybuilder. So I guess we'll start the story with where it all began. I was always into sport. I was always big into football, rugby, anything physical was a huge part of my life, with both my parents being hugely sporty. Now, I was actually pretty high up in rugby at one point. I went to a Gloucester academy. I actually got kicked out of that academy for not progressing physically. So skill-wise, I was great, but just physically, I didn't have the meat on my shoulders. I was getting absolutely hammered by these big guys who we were playing with. So I actually got released from the academy. I don't know if that was a trigger in my mind to kind of do this later on down in life, but I actually just went back to club rugby, and I just knew that the strength and conditioning side of things was a part that I wanted to keep a part of it because I enjoyed that. We moved things on. I went to university, still not really playing rugby, but still having this strength and conditioning side, i.e. going and doing some bench press, some lat pull downs. And as I went to the gym, I noticed more exercises that you could do, and I started playing around. And it was that time when YouTube fitness really started booming. So I had some huge inspirations that I started taking from in terms of Guzman, Matt Ogus, all those OGs of fitness, so the people that kind of inspired me to build my body in a way that was kind of bodybuilding, but I didn't really know what bodybuilding was. I didn't massively follow Arnold or any of the top bodybuilders at the time. I just wanted to progress my physique like these guys had done as well. We moved this forward, and one day I just see a little leaflet in my gym at a university, 2012 I believe it was, and it was Mr. University. Obviously I knew Mr. Universe, obviously I knew Arnold, not that I was like hugely into following it or anything. And I thought, you know what, some of these fitness guys do these cuts that they talk about, these shows, should I do one? And I did it, and I went through that process. I did my first kind of cut, which was about 4 or 6 weeks, and I ended up coming second in that show, and that was my first taste of anything bodybuilding. So 2012, and here we are in 2021, so 9 years later, kind of where we finished up. But that Mr. University competition sort of changed my life. It invoked this passion for bodybuilding that I never even knew that I had, and that's when I kind of went all in. So once I knew this was something that I wanted to pursue, I immersed myself in it. I competed more often. I competed as a junior for a very, very long time, up until I was 23. That was UK BFF Juniors. So we did that for 2014, 15, 16. And I actually just placed well the whole time, which kind of told me that maybe this was my sort of calling, and I enjoyed it more and more, and I documented more through YouTube and filmed my workouts, filmed myself eating, talked about how I did my nutrition. Some of it wrong, some of it still wrong. I look back at some of the videos I make and I think, damn, did I really say that? But that's all part of that process, and I had to take that rep in order to get to the reps that I'm taking right now, and vice versa. But I competed more. I actually got to the British finals in 2016, I believe, or 2017, I believe. That was my final year as a junior. I came second. I was like, oh, I'm second in Britain as a junior. That was a very, very big accolade for me. But that was my final year as a junior. Once you do stop as a junior, you go into the Open, and that is when you compete for your IFBB Pro card. I had a huge goal of competing at an IFBB Pro level naturally, without the use of anabolic steroids, without the use of performance-enhancing drugs. That was a huge thing for me, and looking at the past winners, it was probably achievable in the UK system. But there was a moment when I thought I was going to do it. 2017, I came second in my class, and I was like, wow, that was one step off potentially going into the overall to get that pro card. And I was 24 years old. I look back at those pictures, like I wasn't even developed properly yet. I didn't get lean enough, and I was still doing well just because of the structure that I had. So I knew that I wanted to pursue with it, and I knew that I wanted to make a big change into my physique from 2017. So I was committed to a 2-year off season naturally, and once I did that, I was going to see where I stood, and I was going to assess the performance enhancing drugs side of things. And the reason for that was because they actually rehauled and restructured the grading system. You had to have a pro physique to get a pro card, as opposed to potential. And that makes a lot of sense for me. So I knew that I needed to take some time away and grow. So as I moved through this last natural off season that I was committed to, it slowly dawned on me that I wasn't making the progress that I needed. It also dawned on me that my real true goal in my heart of hearts was to stand on that Olympia stage. And I've been through the mud enough. I had put in the time, the effort for 4 or 5 years of competing naturally. And I thought, this is what I want to do. And obviously after thinking about it for months and months and months and months, and consoling in, you know, my girlfriend and my mum and the people closest to me and the people whose opinion I value most, the decision came to take the anabolic steroid use route. And I made a huge video about it. I explained everything that I wanted to in that video. If you want to go check it out. But ultimately it led to me that in order to get to my real goal of where I wanted to go, with my personal goals, obviously competing is a very personal goal, I had to take that educated, informed decision with the knowledge that I was going to do the best that I can on that stage. And I really urge you to watch that video, because there's a lot of that thought that went into it. And after 18 months of natural lifting, in that final off season, after 6.5, 7 years of natural lifting, I should have said, I began my first anabolic steroid cycle, and I began my real journey to becoming an IFBB pro in this moment today. And that was 2.5 years ago. So 2019 rocked up, my first year as an assisted athlete. That's a nice way to say it, isn't it? Assisted athlete. And I had this little thing in my head, like, I feel like I've always been pretty realistic with my expectations of myself. And I knew that I wasn't probably pro worthy still. I did know that. I wanted to believe, and there's that streak in you that always wants to believe, but I knew that I wasn't. I knew that I was probably maybe a class win in a region, maybe an overall in a regional. I was expecting that, or hoping for that. And maybe I could get into an overall to fight for the pro card. I did both of those things, and I just wasn't good enough for the pro card. The reason why I say I probably wasn't good enough for the pro card is because I had better structure than the guy who got the pro card over me. Probably similar condition, but I was not big enough. I was never going to be big enough. In 2019, I was about 87 kilos on stage, and these guys are much, much heavier, much, much bigger than that. So I knew that I needed to go away, back to the drawing board, and come back undeniable. So from the moment I stepped off stage in 2019, everything was geared towards this 2021 run. I knew I wanted a year off. Luckily or unluckily, the coronavirus in 2020 wreaked havoc, and there was really little competing, so it kind of worked out quite well in terms of me taking a year off. I've been extremely, extremely fortunate to be able to continue training. We made do for about 3 months in the beginning of the lockdown, working out at home just like everyone else, trying to build bits of equipment, spending money that we shouldn't have done on trying to do the thing that we love. And I'm so sure that so many of you can relate to that, just trying to find dumbbells for extortionate prices so we can get a good lift in. And that's what we did for months and months and months. But fortunately after that, I had some amazing access to some amazing gyms, because I'm in the fortunate place that I'm in. So I'm truly grateful for those people. So we continue to make that progress, and the goal was in sight every single day. I used to say this, so you probably remember if you've seen my videos, it's right here. Every day I wake up and it's here. Every day I go to sleep, it's here. I had pictured the moment of winning that pro card more times than I can ever imagine. Multiple times a day. And it only increased as we got closer. So, you know, I put everything into it, and it came to March 2021, February 2021, and the time was now. The time was now to compete. And that's where a lot of you guys would have picked up the story. Some real OGs out there, which of course you would have seen a lot more of the story, but from episode 1 until I think maybe 43, 44 now, wrapping up with this video, we documented everything. So, you know, you can go back and see that, but we worked hard. We brought true condition to the stage. I brought the physique that I was truly proud to the stage. And over that 16 weeks of dieting, of doing that cardio, eating those same meals every single day, working as hard as we can in the gym while trying to provide as much content as possible. It was very, very taxing, but so rewarding. And there's nothing like being in the trenches with Tom, with Joe, and we're working hard for each other, we're shouting for each other, and we're both working towards that same goal. That camaraderie that comes from a prep is truly transcending, and I'm truly grateful to be able to even take part in a prep. So the time came for the first show. We had the MK Classic, the expectations to win the overall. I won it in 2019 at 10 kilos lighter. I'm just as lean, maybe a little bit less lean, because we had to come in for the final shows a little bit leaner. Took the overall, and we learned a lot from that peak week. That was a must, and that was a first pressure off my shoulders. And they announce your name, that pressure off your shoulders. Cool, you really do have the physique that you thought you did. And that gives me a lot of confidence. We then had 3 weeks to Portugal. We ran into Portugal, we had to get leaner, we came in about 4 kilos lighter, 8 pounds, 9 pounds lighter over 3 weeks. Obviously, using things like anabolics, none of that was gonna be muscle. So we dug in for true condition, and we brought to Portugal probably the best physique of the year. I was extremely happy with it, and it was a really, really bittersweet moment not winning that pro card at Portugal. It was great to win that first class and to truly breathe. And then when they move you to the middle and they're comparing you for number one, that was sweet. That was, you do have that physique. You're at the pro qualifier, only one person can win this. Out of every single person that stood on stage, they're comparing you for that. And that moment was like, yeah, I'm not that I was gonna win that, but like, I know I'm gonna get this pro card this year because they're looking at me, and I know that I can see what I can see is real now. Like I've been given that boost from people, or the judges are putting me in the middle. And when they didn't call my name, it was gutting, don't get me wrong, but I think it was meant to be. And I think it was meant to be, and that led us on to this final chapter. So we bring this chapter to a close in Alicante, of all places. I knew this show was there. I had explained it a little bit in the videos leading up to this Portugal run. That was in the background of my head if I didn't achieve it in Portugal, but where you want to be so focused, I wasn't thinking about it. So Sunday night, after losing that pro card in Portugal, we booked the flights, we booked the car, we booked the hotel, or the Airbnb, and we went to Alicante the next day. We had 5 days to really maintain the look, because we knew that look was good. We knew that look was really, really good. And we had a little bit of judges' feedback that kind of confirmed what we thought, that this was the perfect look. It's just about, you know, reciprocating that on a good day. We don't need to go into the politics of anything, but that was just about reciprocating it on a day that was ours, should we say. So Alicante, Amateur Olympia, 2021, 6th of the 6th, and we won't forget it. What a day. I think it being an Amateur Olympia where it's the biggest show that you can possibly do. I think Emilio, the guy who runs the show, was telling me there was nearly 600 athletes. You know, this is during a pandemic. 600 athletes. I counted 65 people on a sheet for men's physique. So it starts dawning on you that you've got to beat 62 of those people. You know, you've got to beat everyone in your class, and then you've got to beat, you know, a maximum, you've got to beat at least 3 people in the overall who have already beaten, you know, 10, 15 people themselves. So they're the creme de la creme. So it starts dawning on you that this might not be it as well. And then in the back of your head, you're thinking, okay, if I don't get it here, I've got to think about, no, don't think about that. Don't think about that. You're here now. And that's what I kept doing that day. So I brought myself down into peace. We sat backstage with Amy, and we just, you know, we watched the show go by, and kind of came to the moment where I took my top off and I put my shorts on, and that's where I just go to this place of, there's no one around. I don't feel the stage. I don't see the judges. I don't see anyone. I don't hear anything. It's just me, the pump up, thinking about my routine, and it's the craziest feeling to fully, it's almost like an out of body experience sometimes for me when I'm backstage. And people who have probably seen me backstage, they don't come up to me because I'm just in this, like, just a weird state of just love it. This is where I come alive, and I start pumping up. You know, I get a few looks at people. You're kind of looking at your class. You know, people are trying to look at you. I'm just here to pump up. Let's do this. You know the poses. This is where you're going. This is where you're going. And I walk out on stage that first time. I'm the 6th person on, so I know that I'm going to be far to the right hand side. They need to say my name. They need to say my name, and they need to put me in the middle right now. First thing, 580, 58. Move to the middle. That's when you know, good, comparing me for number one, let's go. Fortunately, we won that class. It was probably the hardest class. The tall guys were really, really well muscled. And then you come back for the overall, and you know that you've got to beat 3 other people. There's 6 people, 6 classes. You've got to come in the top 3. There's the guy you saw on Instagram last week. There's the other guy who you thought would be in the overall, and they're all in the overall. And you're thinking about this, you're thinking, all right then, it's time to dance, it's time to bring everything. And just like the class, they need to say my name, and they need to move me in the middle. That's all you're thinking about. That's everything. Anyone who has stood on that stage and they're trying to do first call outs, they're trying to do who's going to win. All you're thinking about is that number, 580, Josh Bridgman, 580, Josh Bridgman. And I come out, I'm sixth again, I'm the tallest class. They line us up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They need to say my name, and they need to say this guy in the middle's name, and they need to swap us. That's all I'm thinking. 580, please move to the middle. And you just, boom. Just pure adrenaline. My hairs are standing on end now, thinking about this moment, and you know it's time for that. This is the moment that you've just taken for the last 9 to 10 years. You've worked yourself to this moment, and you are on the edge of doing it. And there's the big screen up in front of you. You can see your back's there. You know your back's looking really good, and you're holding it. And I feel like I'm at war. I don't know what these other guys are thinking. I don't even know. I'm looking at it. There it is. That's the pose. That's the pose. Turn and face the front. Boom. This is me. I'm here. Like, just this is it. And I can feel it. I step back. Guys, gentlemen, well done. You've done so well. Please take a step back and back to the line. And you know that you're getting compared to top 3. That's the hard thing. It's like they put me in the middle, so you kind of know that the pro card's there. But then, do you want to come third or second? You don't. You want to win it, really, because then it's bittersweet. They say the third guy, and I think, wow, that guy should have won. He looked really good. And then you know that if they say 7 and not 5, I was 580. If they say 712, which was the other guy, that it's probably going to be you. You still don't want to say it's going to be you. And you're there, and they say, in second place, and the new pro card, number 7, say 7, say 7, say 7. And they said 7, and I go, you can't show it. You can't show it, because what if it's not you? And you just, oh my God, this is it in my head. This is it. This is it. This is the moment. This is the moment. It's time. It's time. And then they say, and your new overall amateur Olympia winner and pro card winner, 580 Josh Bridgman. And then the world just comes back, and you just hear everything. And I hear Amy's voice screaming. I hear the music. I see everything, and it's just like pure ecstasy. And I cannot get, like you can see now, I cannot get over that moment. It will relive in my brain forever and ever and ever. And it was the best thing that I'd ever experienced. And it was everything that I wanted it to be and more. And I was really, really afraid I was going to be underwhelmed, but I just wasn't. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone who has ever supported this journey, because this has just been the most overwhelming, emotional, happy, ecstatic moment of my life. And I'm truly blessed to be able to share it with thousands of people on the internet for a job. It's ridiculous, I know, but thank you, honestly. The time really was now, but I made it like that. I really did. I really worked for it, and this just sets me up for the next chapter. And that's all this is. This is just one more page closed, and I keep living that story. We know what's next. The Olympia's there, and guess where it is? It's right there, and the same thing is going to happen. So trust me when I say this, the time is now. Guys, thank you so much for watching the series. Thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you. Peace. Whoo, I got tingles. I want to go back on stage now.